Hi third graders, it's me, Mrs. Strom. I hope you enjoyed that video from last week called The Goat and the Rug. I thought it was a really cute story how it's told from the perspective of the goat named Geraldine, and it's about a Navajo weaver who takes the wool from the goat and uses it to create a weaving. The Navajo are a group of Native Americans who are from the southwest of America, so they live in the areas of New Mexico, Arizona, and in that area. So the Navajo people actually call themselves Dine, which means the people in their language. The Navajo have their own distinct language and their own distinct set of rules and government. So they are recognized as their own sovereign nation. But anyway, so the Navajo also have a really cool stories about, how the world was created, how the people got to the world, and all these different stories that we recognize as folklore mythology in our culture, although for the Dine or the Navajo people, it is their spiritual beliefs. One of the really cool stories is an origin story that is related to a figure named the Spider Woman. Not Spider-Man, not Peter Parker Spider-Man. I know. It's actually a woman who was called Spider Woman. And Spider Woman created a weaving, which is the world, and everything that grows on Earth is been woven in by Spider Woman, and she's the one who taught the first people how to do the weaving so that they could create materials that they could use for their own. So in that story, Spider Woman's husband creates a loom, and a loom is the frame you weave on. So today we're going to be creating the loom. This project is going to take about 2 or 3 days for you. I'm going to show it to you in 2 videos. So today the main focus is how to create the loom, and then next week the focus will be how to create the weaving. So what you'll need is a stiff piece of paper. I'm using some cardboard from a box. You could use cardboard from a box as well, a cereal box, maybe some poster board, something that's thicker than regular paper or even thicker than construction paper. It's got to be pretty stiff. You're going to use a pencil and some scissors. And if you're not so great at drawing circles, maybe something that is already round that you can use as a stencil. All right, so let's get started. I'm going to flip my camera down. So here's my piece of cardboard. It doesn't matter which side you draw on, really. I'm going to just use this side, that way it's easier for you to see. Here's my circle. I could use this, hold it steady, and using a pencil, and I'm just going to draw a circle around it. You want this shape to be, the size to be about the size of your hand. It's a little bit smaller than my hand, but that's okay. So about the size of your hand. You don't want it to be very, very small. If I was going to measure this, I would say this is approximately maybe 5 or 6 inches across. Okay. All right, so once you have your circle drawn on there, maybe you can see it. Okay, you're going to use your scissors to cut the circle out. If you have a paper plate also, the paper plate, if it's a thick paper plate, you could use that as well if you don't have cardboard like this. Okay, so now that I have my circle, I'm going to use my pencil to create some lines on the outside part of my circle. So I'm going to do an odd number. I'm going to switch over to a pen so that way you guys can see it better, because I'm a little worried that my pencil is not easy to see on the camera. So I'm going to just start right here. I'm just going to draw a little line, and then I'm going to just draw an even number of lines going around, kind of like the lines of a clock. But this is going to be, like I said, we need an odd number. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. Okay. Any odd number amount is fine. The more you have, the more difficult your weaving will be. The less you have, the easier it will be. But you do need at least 7 marks, at least 7. I have 13, so I think that's a pretty good number. If you're not so sure about spacing, you could also think about using your fingers as spacing. So 1 or 2 fingers in between, 1 or 2 fingers in between, and that way it'll create an even spacing all the way around. So once you have that, then you're going to use your scissors and you're just going to cut on those lines just a little bit. All right, and that's basically it. That's how you create a loom. And remember, a loom is just a frame that you weave on. The next part, you'll need your yarn or string, maybe some tape. If you don't have yarn or string, here's some things that you can use in place of it. For example, you can get a plastic bag that you cut up into strips. So I just cut this into a strip and I tied it into each other to make a long piece. If you have like ribbons, you can use ribbons. This is from one of those star ribbons from a gift that I just took the staple out and I unraveled it, and it ends up being a really, really long piece of ribbon. And the cool thing with this is that it's so wide, and it's basically, you can just split this into other long pieces like that. You could also use old t-shirts. This isn't a really old one, but if you have parent permission and you have an old shirt that your parents were planning on throwing away or donating or whatever, ask them if you can cut it up into long strips to make it into the strings that you need for weaving. So once you have that, this is how you're going to do it. These numbers do come in handy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one end, stretch it all the way across, and go to 1. Start at 1. Then I'm going to wrap it around the back. And I'm going to go over here. So that way it makes like an X, like this. If I stretch this one out and go this way, it makes it look like an X. So I'm going to cross over to the second one and then wrap it. Then I'm going to go wrap it and then pull through to the next one. So I started at 8 here, and then I go to 9, then I go to 3, 10 to 4, 11 to 5, 13 to 6, 12 to 6, excuse me, 13 to 7, and then I'm going to have 2 ends. So this one, this end ends over here and this end over here. So this one I can tape down. I'm going to tape it down. But this one, I'm going to actually use this to pull the center into the actual center of the circle. So if it was just hanging, you see how the center, it's over here and not exactly in the middle. So I'm just going to pull this, and I'm just going to pull it until it's about the center. Once it's in the center, I'm going to pick a string. It doesn't really matter which one, but just on the opposite side. So I don't want to pick a string over here where this is next to it. I'm going to do something that's on the opposite side. So maybe this one. I'm just going to go under it like that. And then I'm going to go over the next string, under, over, under, over, under, over, under, over, like that. And just pulling it a little bit. Under, over, under, over. I'm just pulling, making sure it's staying in the middle. And then pretty soon it's gonna be a knot in the middle. So I'm just gonna keep going over and under until I don't have any more string left. All right, so once I run out of string, all I have to do is just tuck it underneath like that. That's it for right now, and next week we will add more to this to continue our weaving. So this is just basically how you start the loom and you start the center weave. Okay, so tune in till next time and I will show you how to do the rest of your weaving. All right, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.